You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all the shows on our great channel to get great Patriots content all week long. But tonight, it's your guys at the Pats Nation Network. It's Pat Lane and my guy, Matt St. Jean. Matt, Happy New Year. Did you watch Stranger Things last night? You a Stranger Things guy. Did you watch Stranger Things last night?
Oh, yeah, I did. I not last night because we had plans, but I did watch it like 3 hours ago. Nice,
very nice, very nice. What were your thoughts? Did you like it?
I won't get too in depth, so we don't.
We can't do spoilers here, right? Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. What I'll put this way is this: I understand why people might not like the newest season or the finale. I don't think it's perfect. I also personally really enjoyed it and thought it hit for me. Like I'm not gonna give away too much. So I'll just say emotionally it hit for me. And yeah, it's not, this isn't like the Sopranos finale where it's a legendary thing, but I also don't think it's the what do you call it? Game of Thrones finale. Like it was it was a good ending to a good show.
Well, and that's the hard part. The hard part is kind of wrapping everything up. And then, like, how do we do that? How do we wrap it all up? And some shows have done a good job of doing that. Some shows have done a really bad job of doing that, right? Game of Thrones is one that, goalie's saying, gassing is better, worse than Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was the best show of all time. And then the last season was just an absolute cluster. It made no sense. And everyone was just like, what are we even doing here, man? Like,
What's funny with that too is that I've never seen Game of Thrones, and I was waiting for the final season to finish so that I could binge watch the entire thing. And then the last season got such bad reviews that I was just like, all right, well, I'm never gonna watch this now.
It's just not.
Why would I watch it when I know going in? It's like there's not gonna be a payoff.
So the frustrating thing is that what I will say about that is that it's still worth it. It's still worth watching. Even though, oh my God, dude, what a leg. Even though the kicker from Ole Miss just hit a 56-yard field goal. Even though it's not, and goalie says too, like, you should still watch it. Even though the last season's just trash and the ending is horrendous and it's just like, you're just mad at it. But like the first 7 seasons are so incredible that it's worth it. And yes, it doesn't pay off in the end. And yes, you're not happy about the way it ends and like whatever.
Maybe I'll just watch the first 6 seasons or whatever and just not watch the last one and just let it be clean in my mind.
And that honestly, you could do that. And you know what? Goalie's not wrong in the fact that it's not, the last season isn't bad. Well, it's bad. It's bad like in relation to the rest of it.
Well, and it's like the last half of the last season, right? Is where all of a sudden it just totally falls off a cliff.
Yeah, and it just, they tried to, I don't know. It just, the frustrating thing is that Game of Thrones was never supposed to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
It's not. That was not how it was supposed to go. And that's different in this situation. So anyways, we're not going to, that's enough. That's enough TV. I could talk TV and movies all day long, but.
I'll say one last thing on Stranger Things. I will say the fact that there has been so much time between seasons, a lot of it out of the hands of like the cast and crew with all of the delays with COVID and strikes and things that have pushed things back. I think people have had a lot of time to sit back and analyze a show that was always intended to be closer to like Star Wars than, I don't know, like trying like The Wire or something. The tone that you interpret Stranger Things to be will probably influence your opinion on the finale. Like the type of show that you, the type of ending you expect that type of show to have.
Well, I agree with you. And not just that, but also like, if you think about it, and this is a spoiler going back years, but after what they did with Hopper in season 2 or 3 or whatever, like
Yeah.
right away, it can never be Breaking Bad or The Wire or The Sopranos. Like you can't do that in a show and then say, well, it's critically one of the best shows. It just isn't. Like you just can't. That doesn't. You lose some of it because of
Well,
that.
and it's
And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay for the show to just be fun. We don't have to break down every single thing and, oh my God, it's the greatest show of all time. We could just say it was great. We enjoyed the heck out of it. We have an emotional connection to these characters, and it was a great show. We don't have to say it's the greatest show of all time or anything like that. It just doesn't have to do that.
No, it's not above criticism. I have my complaints. I also really enjoyed
it. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So anyways, yeah, let's get into the Patriots. Dolphins this weekend, of course. And in a game that really doesn't matter, it matters. It kind of doesn't matter. I love the fact that it's 425. 425 as a fan is my favorite game to go to because, especially this time of year, it's dark out, but it's not a night game. So we're not, it's not you're not getting home at 1:00 in the morning, but you still get kind of that night game feel to it. And so, I love the 4:30 games. And so I was excited to see this become a 4:30 game. And of course, again, it matters for the Patriots seeding wise, but chances are with the Chargers resting all their starters, you would assume that the Chargers are probably going to lose to Denver, which then means you can't get the number 1 seed no matter what happens in this game. And so,
sure.
What are you going to do?
I think we should start with kind of an in and out, like who's playing, who's not for the AFC. Because right now, no Justin Herbert.
Yep.
Looking like no Josh Allen for the Bills.
It looks like that.
He's not practicing. The Chargers and the Bills are your 6 and 7 seeds right now. So in a world where both of those teams lose on Sunday, the Bills would be the 7th seed. The Chargers would be the 6th seed.
Yep.
Presuming that also Houston and Jacksonville win. But the Bills would be locked into that 7 in that case. I feel good assuming the Chargers are going to lose at Denver without Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the Bills probably win comfortably against the Jets without Josh Allen. That is
what Matt's laughing at.
Yes. Yeah. I was laughing at the Jets losing by double figures to Mitch Trubisky. That's
right.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen there. But in a world where the Bills do what they did last year, basically just have no
intentionally lose, basically.
Yeah, then they would come to New England in the wild card round, assuming that the Patriots also pick up a win. If we assume that Chargers Broncos result, the 1 seed's out of play, so the Patriots would need to win to get the 2 seed. They will know that by the time that the Patriots have to submit their inactives for this game, that'll be 2:55 p.m. You may already essentially know the result of the Jaguars game, Jaguars Titans, or at least you'll know if it's close or not.
And the Jags Titans game feels like the Bills Jets game. Like the Jags should be able to roll in and just beat up on the Titans with their backups if they really wanted to.
And it's at home too. Yeah. So we expect the Jaguars to win that. If the Jaguars win that, the Patriots need to win to get the 2 seed. Now, in theory, if the Jaguars win that and you're looking at everything else, you could say we're going to lose and we're going to get the 3 seed because we'd rather play the Chargers than the Bills. That feels like overthinking it to me. I would just rather have home field advantage.
Correct.
So, and if Josh Allen is actually so hurt that he's not practicing, he's not the Josh Allen that we saw a couple weeks ago in Foxborough. I'm not as scared of Buffalo now. I'm less scared now than I was a week ago.
True.
So I'm not going to be worried about playing matchups or anything. I think you go out and you try to win the game regardless because you take pride in winning.
Yeah. And I think that the Patriots need to get right. I shouldn't even say get right. I think that the Patriots have been playing with a lot of momentum and should try to keep that momentum going for the playoffs. You don't want to lose this game. You just don't want to lose this game to Miami. Even if the settings will be better, even if it's it's not worth it, in my opinion. So, and it's just, and like I say, if Jacksonville loses, then it doesn't matter anyways as far as seeding is concerned. So what difference does it make? You go out and play, and if you go into halftime and the Jaguars have lost and you feel like you don't want to play Drake May in the second half, then don't. That's fine. But you want to come out into this game with the thought process of, we want to win this game.
Yeah, and that's what Mike Vrabel has said too. So, I think that's what we expect to see on Sunday as a Patriots team that's trying against the Dolphins team. I think worth pointing out that won last week and that gave the Patriots a game in week 1. A lot has changed since then. I don't know if you want me to go over all the differences with the Dolphins here. No, I think most importantly, no Tua, no Tyreek from that week 3 meeting.
Week two meeting, yeah.
Or week 2, yeah. Which, by the way, that week 2 meeting, the 3 biggest plays in that game, 2 of them were special teams returns for touchdowns, and the other one was a long Tyreek Hill touchdown. And as long as you're not giving up the big plays in the return game, you're not. It's oh my God, who's the quarterback? Quinn Ewers is at quarterback.
Yep.
Jalen Waddle might not play this week because he's banged up right now. Devon Achane isn't practicing. Oh yeah, Devon Achane also one of the biggest plays of that game. So the reasons that first game was close aren't going to be playing. Also, it's going to be in Foxborough and it's going to be cold on Sunday.
Yeah. Right. And again, that might not matter, but it also might quite a bit. And so, we'll see what happens. It's frankly a Dolphins team that I thought was going to fire their coach, and now it seems like McDaniel's going to be sticking around, and Tua is not. And so it's really kind of a fascinating situation. I think Quinn Ewers has played pretty well. He hasn't played incredible, but he's played pretty well.
He hasn't played well enough that you're like, hey, he can be a bridge quarterback if we trade Tua.
Right.
But he's played well enough that you can say, he can actually be our backup. The Dolphins are 7-9 right now, so they're hovering around 500 here. This is a team that was 1-6 at one point,
right.
So they managed to turn it around a little bit. They won 5 games in 6 weeks in the middle of the season, including a win over the Bills, which I guess that's one of the things. This is not a good Dolphins team, and it's a worse Dolphins team than the one that beat the Bills, but they did beat Buffalo. So
right.
They're not, and Mike McDaniel can scheme things up. They beat Tampa last week, and Tampa outplayed them for most of that game. But the difference, it was the one long touchdown the Dolphins had. It was 3rd and 8, and you get a coverage bust, and the guy going for a 68-yard touchdown.
Yep.
So it's as long as you're avoiding that, and then Tampa outgained them and turned the ball over 3 times and had a field goal blocked in a game they lost by 3 points.
Right. Yeah.
So don't turn the ball over. Make your field goals.
Right.
Tampa should have won that by 2 scores. Instead, they lost because they coughed it up.
Right. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is that just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
That's it. Just don't do anything stupid. And I think that for me at least, that's the most important thing. And you kind of go back to, I always kind of end up back at that Steelers game where, you just kind of say, yeah, the Steelers, sure, you should have won that game. But also, it taught them a lesson of, if you don't play like a bunch of idiots, you can play with anyone and you can beat anyone. And, that's just going to this game and say, hey, look, just don't play stupid and we should win, And I think, this is and we'll get into MVP because we'll talk about the MVP a little bit, but this is kind of that interesting spot where it's how much do you care about the numbers? Do you care about what Drake May's numbers look like in this game? Are you trying to win him the MVP? Not because it's Drake May, but because you want to win it for your entire team, right? And I think, that's kind of, then you kind of ask okay, well, how much does it matter to you, right? And how much does it matter to the team? And it may not matter to them at all, right? But I think it does a little bit at least, I think it'd be hard not to matter at all, But have him be efficient, have him go out, and Kayshon Boutte, it looks like he's cleared concussion protocol. He probably will be playing, which would be nice. So if that's the case, then you feel pretty good about it. Let's get these guys. I want to see Milton Williams out there, probably just for a few plays, but I want to see him out there a little bit. I'd like to see Will Campbell out there a little bit. Again, maybe not the whole game, but I'd like to see him out there a little bit. Knock the rust off before you have to go back and play. And listen, this is a situation where I know you want guys to get healthy, but our guys are starting to get healthy. They haven't played, so we need them to get out there and knock that rust off before the playoffs start, because I don't want them going in saying, all right, I haven't played in a game in 2 months or a month and a half. That's not good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's also worth noting you got a bunch of guys that have not participated in practice this week for the Patriots. So you have 5 guys that you could probably presume are out this week already.
Mm-hmm.
Harold Landry missed last week. Spillane, who's been out for a while. Karis Tonga, Jack Westover, who got banged up on a kickoff return late in the game last Sunday. And Jared Wilson still in the concussion protocol. He hasn't practiced. I would assume that all 5 of those guys are out. And you know what I will say? Miami does a good job of getting skill players in space.
Yep.
If you're missing a linebacker like Spillane, I think this is one of those games where if you're not tackling and your linebackers are having a tough one, Miami might be able to score a little bit on you. So I think you do want Will Campbell and Milton Williams playing in this game, because you also probably need them to win. You can win this game without them, but it's going to be easier if they're out there.
Right.
This is
right.
Miami just beat Tampa last week. They've played some close games recently. They got blown out by the Bengals a couple weeks ago, but that was they had a 14-10 lead late in the first half, and then Cincinnati scored 5 consecutive touchdowns.
Right.
So I suspect this game will probably be closer at the start, and then the Patriots pull away. But you would love for this to be like last week, where it's cold. It's the last week of the season.
Yeah.
We have a laundry list of Dolphins players who have not participated in practice. Devon Achane, Jordan Brooks, Minka Fitzpatrick, Darren Waller, all have not practiced this week. Chop Robinson and Jalen Waddle didn't practice, and then were upgraded to limited today. So they might have a lot of good players out. Last week of the season, they're going to be on the road in the cold. If it's clear midway through the second quarter that they're not going to have a chance to play a spoiler, you might be able to just put them away and coast to the finish and pull some starters in the third and get some rest. And I think that is the ideal situation. So you want your guys out there early just to bury them so you can get to the point where you can get off the field.
Right. I think it's a great point. And that's exactly what we did last week, as you said, and that's really what I want to see this week. If they can put the foot on the throat early, the Dolphins just might turtle like the Jets did last weekend, right? And just say, you know what, man, we're all set. What are we doing here? And we'll see. Again, we'll see ultimately what happens and how it plays out. But I feel good about it, and the Patriots are the better team, and so that always helps you if you're the better team. You know what I mean?
Well, most importantly, you have the better quarterback by a wide margin. New England's quarterback is a guy who is right now favored pretty heavily to win the MVP award against Quinn Ewers, a late round draft pick who has some talent. I think there's something real to be worked with there, but I'm also not convinced he's anything more than a mid-tier backup.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And by the way, Deshaun says, and I do agree that, let Maye throw the ball earlier, right? Let him throw the ball early. And I agree with you. Throw the ball with Drake, man. We'll talk about the MVP in a second, but I think that, that matters. Patty, what's up, buddy? Thanks for coming through. But that's going to be really fascinating to me, is how do you look at that? How do you play that? Throw the ball. Get the offensive going. And again, especially with Kendrick Bourne back out there, Jesus Christ, especially with Kayshon. I was watching a KB interview today that he did with someone. I forget who it even was, but I was watching a KB interview today. That's what made me think of him. But yes, get Kendrick, get Kayshon Boutte back going, and let's see what he has in the passing game a little bit, and let Maye throw the ball. And I think that's you get up on them early. And like I said, they might just turtle, and the best path to do that is getting Maye the ball, and then try to break off some long runs by Trevion Henderson. I mean, maybe Henderson has another 50+ yard touchdown. He's probably winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, right? And
That'd be pretty
right
sweet.
now, Tedrow McMillan is the the odds-on favorite. He was shut out last week. Did not have a catch last week. So if he has another tough week again this week, catching the football, he might not win it, and then it might be Trevion's award to win. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Tyler Shuck, right? But it could be, Trevion's award to win. It'd be pretty. How cool would it be to have, the MVP and the offensive rookie? It'd be pretty cool to have on the same offense. So we'll see.
That would be pretty sweet. Going back to the Booty thing, I want to get him the ball early. Before his injury, he was averaging like over 50 yards a game. Since coming back, he's averaging 24 yards per game. He has not been nearly as involved. They've asked him to do a lot more underneath stuff, it seems, and he's been open on it. They're just not. Maye's not looking his way right now. So I think this is probably one of those games where you say, let's try to work Booty back in and get him involved a little bit more, get him the ball, so that by the time you go to the playoffs, you feel comfortable with that. Especially with no Mac Hollins, Booty's essentially going to be your big receiver for the first two playoff games. So
that's true.
You want to work him back in and feel comfortable with where things are heading into the playoffs.
I agree. Also, Patty says Coach of the Year. I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be Kyle Shanahan, would be my guess. We'll see.
And I'm fine with that. If the 49ers get the 1 seed, you miss your starting quarterback for like a quarter of the season, and also no Brandon Ayuk and no Nick Bosa and no Fred Warner, and you win what is the best division in football, and not just win it, earn the number 1 seed in the conference.
Yeah, that's deserving. Very well deserving.
Yeah. And I wouldn't, obviously I think Vrabel has a good case too.
Of course.
But I think you look at it, and more of the turnaround in New England has been about the quarterback than the situation in San Francisco. So I look at that and I say, all right, Maye winning MVP and Kyle Shanahan winning Coach of the Year, or if Seattle wins that, I think Mike McDonald would have a pretty good argument too for what that defense has done, and the fact that you've got Sam Darnold as your quarterback. Like, Sam Darnold has not been that good. They're just like working it with JSN. Like that team is JSN on one side of the ball and then defense.
Well, and that's part of it, right? Is that they, it's interesting. The Coach of the Year is so fascinating because you have Vrabel, you have Shanahan, you have Liam Cohen, and you have Ben Johnson. Like, all those guys have done wonders this year. And again, the three other guys, right, outside of Kyle Shanahan, are all first-year guys, not first-year ever head coaches, although for Liam Cohen and Ben Johnson, that's true, but first year in the new spot. And, it's interesting.
I think Liam Cohen's best argument for Coach of the Year is that he forced out Trent Baalke in order to get that job.
I mean, it's a great point.
Pretty sick move. So
if I were a Jaguars fan, I'd be happy. I'd be very happy about that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, like, to me, MVP is essentially like solved. Like, I feel like I know who should win that. Right. Coach of the Year, I think there are a lot of good options who have good cases. I don't really know who, especially if San Francisco wins, I think I know who's going to win that. If San Francisco loses on Saturday night, I don't have a good feel for who's actually going to win that award. And I think that's because we've seen so many turnarounds this year.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of really good coaching in the NFL this year, and a lot of coaches who are deserving. I will also say the history of guys who win Coach of the Year, not necessarily great.
No, it isn't.
So I would not be upset if Vrabel doesn't win that one, because there's a lot of guys who have won that, and then you win it because you have a turnaround, and then immediately your team goes back to being what it was before.
Right. Yeah, it's not ideal. So
yeah.
I agree with you. So we'll see. We'll see. MVP wise, it is interesting. The whole Stafford thing is fascinating, and of course, there's the people that are steadfast in their belief that Matthew Stafford is the MVP, and really just because the counting numbers. And what's fascinating to me is, A guy like Dan Orlovsky is so interesting because Orlovsky I consider to be like a smart guy, and I think he does a really nice job. But like, man, he just every single argument that he used for Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson last year applies to Drake May over Matthew Stafford. Every single argument that he used last year. And now this year he's saying that Matthew Stafford is more deserving. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You just made the argument that this guy should win because he's doing more with less. He's won more games. His team is, where they are because of him. And now you're turning around and saying, well, yeah, Matthew Stafford, what he's done is incredible. And I'm not saying Matthew Stafford's had a phenomenal game. He's had a phenomenal season. He's been great. But like, there are so many good players on that team. You're throwing to Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, and you can say all you want that Puka Nacua is a product of the Rams system, and he's only as good. He's only that good because, Matthew Stafford is that good. Fine. I disagree, but fine. But you're going to sit there and tell me that's the reason? Like, come on. Puka Nacua is incredible. And every week we see him play, and we're like, okay, this guy's unbelievable. He's on a different planet than everyone else. And so, the amount of talent that they have offensively over there doesn't even compare to what the Patriots are dealing with over here. And it's just like, and again, all the actual metrics go to May. So it's just like then you're making things up about Stafford.
I think you are giving Dan Orlovsky far too much credit.
You're probably right.
But I will say, just to like kind of anchor this discussion somewhere, the books that I've seen have May as like minus 350 to win MVP, which is like 75-80% chance of winning. Like that is the expectation here. So you can look at, what talking heads on ESPN are saying or what people on Twitter are saying or whatever. But the odds makers fully expect this to be May. It's not a lock. There's some room for debate, but there's not that much room for debate at this point.
Right.
And like that's why I just don't. May's numbers are better. He has Stafford has been awesome. You don't have to take a single thing away from Stafford to make this case.
Right.
Stafford has been awesome. May has been better to the tune of winning more games with a worse supporting cast.
Correct.
If that's not what MVP is about, I don't know what is. And the strength of schedule stuff doesn't do anything for me. I've never once heard strength of schedule mentioned for something like this before. So they're all NFL players you're going against. They're all good players. And if you actually watch the tape, Stafford's had an amazing season, and Drake May has had an even more amazing season when you just watch the way that they're playing out there.
Right.
To be honest, I think if you were going to make an MVP case, then what happens this week, I think there might be others in that division that you could make a better argument for. I'm kind of coming around on Christian McCaffrey for what he has done for the 49ers and just
1,000 each. He's close to 1,000 each, which is outrageous.
When his presence on the football field schematically is what has opened up everything for them. I think we would be fully doing the Brock Purdy discussion again if he had played a full season. When I do think he has been really good. I think more credit goes to CMC relative to their positions there. If I had to cast a vote right now, I would do Drake May for MVP, and I'd honestly just wait to see who wins Saturday night and go either CMC or Jackson Smith and Jigba for
Offensive Player
of the Year. Yeah. Probably just depending on either who wins, who has a better performance, or where we are there. I have one bone to pick on the Stafford discussion stuff. The people who say, "Wow, so one bad game in week 17 is all it takes to swing the discussion about the Stafford stuff." Yeah. Yeah, these guys were tied through 16 weeks. Then in week 17, one guy had a good game and one guy had a bad game. How do you expect people to react to that?
Right.
I understand that it is just one game and you shouldn't overreact. But the margins here are so small that one game does make a pretty big difference in people's perceptions. That was one argument I've seen that has made very little sense to me. People were like, "Oh, wow, so if you have a bad game in week 17, that's worse than if you had a bad game in week 7. Well, yeah, if your competition is someone who also had a bad game in like week 7 and you're like comparing those and then you add in the extra game,
Right.
like it's not a death sentence to
Well,
have a bad game in week 17, but the award is like best player in the league this year. So the
correct.
standard's going to be pretty high.
Right. And that's the thing, is that if Maye isn't having any of those bad games, it's difficult to then turn around and say, well, Stafford had one bad game, so what? It's like, well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So anyways,
Yeah,
it's one of those things. And honestly, for me, the biggest thing for me, anyone that uses the schedule nonsense, the Patriots played 6 games against the exact Drake Maye and Matthew Stafford have 6 games against the same teams. And Drake Maye stats are significantly better in those 6 games. So that's it. So take the rest of the schedule away. I don't care about the rest of the schedule. Take it away and just look at those 6 games. And if you're really concerned about, well, if Drake had to play the guys that he put, it's like, okay, he did. And he outperformed in those 6 games. That's what he did. So it's a silly argument. And I think people know it's a silly argument, but they make it anyways because they want to have an argument for Matthew Stafford, and that's what they have.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that like strength of schedule, I think that if the two were closer, I think you might be able to make a decent point to say, hey, if we're valuing, team success here, which you definitely do in the MVP thing, if one player has faced a significantly harder schedule than the other and they're tied, and if we're basically looking at team success as the tiebreaker between the two, then yes, I think strength of schedule is relevant to that. But it isn't here. They're not that close. But even if it were, like, I think it's worth mentioning that some of the bad teams the Patriots have played have been bad because their offenses were terrible, not because their defenses. The Saints right now, they've come around late, but like their pass defense 5th in yards allowed. The Browns I think are like 3rd or 2nd in yards allowed. The Falcons are 11th in passing yards allowed. Like some of the quote unquote weak teams the Patriots have played are weak because the offense isn't good, but the defenses have been good, and Maye has played very well against them. So that just seems kind of disingenuous if we're just evaluating performance there. And it does seem notable to me that like most of the serious analysts on this stuff, the data nerds too, look at that and say, yeah, there's nothing here, the strength of schedule stuff.
Right.
For this. It's only the people who are talking heads or, the Dan Orlovskis who are looking out for, a former teammate of theirs or looking to get a little attention in the press that I think are bringing stuff up.
Well, and not just that, but and goalie points it out too, like he's not going to win the division.
Yeah.
He's not going to win the division. No matter what happens this week, he doesn't win the division.
And importantly, why? Because he had 2 awful performances down the stretch against NFC South teams, teams that Maye played well against, or at least comparatively much better against.
Right.
Again, it's like when you put the team success in the context of the quarterback's role and like who these guys have played and everything, it's like, yeah, the Rams were in control of this until they lost to the Panthers and Falcons, 2 teams that Patriots beat, and Maye played incredibly well against Carolina and still relatively pretty well. I think over 100 passer rating against Atlanta, even though that wasn't his best day.
Right. So it's just like, come on, it's just silly. So,
and it's again, like I said, if we were looking at like the team strength thing, and it's like, all right, Maye's going to win his division and Stafford isn't, but other than that, all of their stats are equal. We're going to pretend that their supporting casts are equal, and the strength of schedule difference is massive. Okay, yeah, like if the Rams miss their division by 1 game, the Patriots win their division by 1 game, the Patriots have a much easier schedule, and we're using this as the tiebreaker. Okay, I think that's fair to bring into the discussion. But there's a significant difference in performance and production from the 2 players. And like Maye has done more with less. Matthew Stafford still like he's gonna be 2nd team all-pro quarterback. He's had an amazing season.
Right.
People bring up the touchdown numbers with him and him throwing touchdowns close to the goal line. That's a skill. He's been good at that. That's a congested area of the field. I'm not going to take that away from him. That's because he's developed a rapport with Devontae Adams, and they've got that great fade game going. And they can throw over the middle of the field without getting picked in those areas a lot of the time. That's a credit to Stafford. He's been awesome down there. There's all more to football than just what happens in those 5 yards.
Right. And that's, so it's one of those things. Anyways, it's. I agree with you. It's not really a discussion. Now, does it become more of a discussion if Drake Maye plays the entire game on Sunday and plays like garbage and they lose, and then Matthew Stafford plays really well and they win? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
You could open the door. I think it would take Maye having I think it would take him having a real bad day.
Right.
Like it was the pick six that Stafford threw last week that I think, and he threw another one that got called back.
Should have been a pick six, and the guy stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, and it would have gotten called back due to a penalty either. Anyway, like on the return. But it's like you'd have to have that kind of performance. The Cardinals defense is not good. So like I don't think Stafford gains a whole lot by having a good game. But like if he has a bad game, he has no chance. He needs a good game and for Maye to like completely implode so that the Patriots are dropping to like the 3 seed.
Yeah, he didn't have a shot. So by the way, Ole Miss, watching this Ole Miss Georgia game right now. Ole Miss just put on an absolute clinic. In horrendous tackling. It's Georgia. I think Georgia converted 3 third downs on that drive, and all 3 third down conversions they had, their running back. The guy that got the ball was contacted in the backfield, and they picked up a first down on all 3 of them. It's just like unbelievable. It's just absolutely unbelievable that could happen that way. So
yeah, that's brutal. I am 100% rooting for Ole Miss here, just because with Lane Kiffin leaving, the idea that they would come out and win a natty somehow after that would be a great story.
It would be wild. Now the only problem is that he's also getting paid for every time they win a playoff game, but whatever, it is what it is. So he's getting paid enough money anyways. Who cares? You know what I mean?
I want it for the players, just because
it would be awesome for them. It would be an awesome thing for the players if they were to win the national championship game. That'd be sick. So, but we'll see. Yeah. Anyways, all right, you want to do an ad read, and then we'll we have a few more things to talk about. This week as we get into it. So, of course, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making play picks the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And Prize Picks lets you take control. Now, again, a reminder, Prize Picks has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Also, there's a new social feeds feature, and you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups if you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. Now, what you're going to do is download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. So, oh boy. Georgia just had a pick 6, I think. So there you go.
Should we do we get to the elephant in the room here real quick?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
It's been a tough week for Patriots fans who like women, who respect women. It's been a bad week. Okay. Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore both have things going on, unfortunately. And we don't know exactly what the situation is going to be. We're not sure how things are going to play out, how things have played out, but it doesn't look good. The
details there too for Stephon Diggs. There's one felony charge and one misdemeanor charge. For Christian Barmore, one misdemeanor charge.
Yep.
the NFL, like last year, they put Jabril Peppers on the exempt list while he was going through his court situation. They did not do that with Rashee Rice, so it's kind of, I think at the whim of how the NFL feels about the situation and probably some team input too. But the NFL has said that they're not going to consider that until we get to, arraignments for players. Diggs is, I believe, scheduled to be January 23rd. Barmore's is February 3rd. And I believe Diggs petitioned to have his moved back. So with those dates, I would expect you're not going to see anything from the league until after this season. And I think likewise from the team, you're not like, I at this point, given the fact that they put out a statement in support of Stephon Diggs and said that they've been aware of the Christian Barmore situation, which happened back in August.
Yeah,
I would expect the team is going to allow them to play until the legal situation is sorted out, and then you go from there. So I think in terms of what it means football wise, nothing for the rest of this season, and something that probably comes back up in the offseason.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even want to speak on it more than that. We just don't need to. We'll kind of let things play out the way they are and whatnot.
And there's not a lot of information that's public right now, so not worth commenting to any more specifics to this until we actually have a full picture of what is alleged, what happened, how the courts see things, and the way things proceed. I will
say I think it's kind of telling that the team, as you said, put out a message of support for Stephon Diggs, did not do that for Christian Barmore. And so, take that for what it is. Take that. It means what it means, right? But
then you've got the action with that too of Barmore, the fact that they did say that they knew it's alleged that the Patriots car service is involved in the Barmore thing, that they've known about this incident and allowed him to play. So right. Whether that is by action the same as saying that they support Stephon, I don't really know. Beyond that, it's hard to say until we actually get to I think some more information coming out about the case, first of all, for the league or for the team to make any kind of decisions here.
Yep, I agree. So we'll see. Tough situation, obviously. Not something you want to deal with. And
no,
if this is
not when you're in the hunt for the number one seed in the conference, not something you want coming up.
Well, and this is the hard part, right? The hard part is there's a difference between being found guilty and having done it. There's a very big difference there, right? I don't care whether you're found guilty or not, right? That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't do it for me.
There's a bar of evidence for what gives the state power to deprive you of your rights and put you in prison. And there's a bar for evidence for me as a human being deciding if I think someone did this thing.
Correct.
And those are two different things.
Right. And so ultimately what it comes down to is that if someone's doing those things, especially in the Barmore situation, happened in front of his kid, allegedly.
Yeah.
Someone's doing things like that, I just don't want them on my football team. It's really that simple for me. And again, I'm not saying that they did because I don't know the situation, right? No. But, for me personally, if that's true and what those guys did is true, I don't care how good they are on the field. I don't care what type of leader they are in the locker room. I don't want a guy like that on my team. I just don't. And I think the Patriots have been, going all the way back to Christian Peter in, 1994 or 1995 or whatever. Like, they've been pretty steadfast about the fact that they are not doing that. They're not dealing with it. They have a zero tolerance policy against it. They're just not dealing with it. And so, they've been pretty steadfast about that, and again, for me personally, and Deshaun says, innocent till proven guilty. And I agree 100%, but I'm not saying guilty. I'm just saying whether they did it or not. Right. And so there's a big difference for me, again, between being guilty and having done it. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they, that we know whether they did it or not. I don't know. We'll probably never know, but,
Well, we'll say that. I will say that the team historically has had a zero tolerance policy towards domestic violence. So if Barmore is found to have done what was alleged and the team keeps him around, I think I'd be a little bit disappointed that they are backing away from that
Right.
standard.
Right.
But beyond that, we'll see. We'll see where the courts land on these things, and definitely the second year in a row that something like this has come
It's
up.
not ideal.
Not the way you want to be heading into a new year, and backing away from it just a little bit. I think from a organizational standpoint, this is leadership wise one of the first big tests for Vrabel of how he would handle something like this. The guy running the football operations right now. So I think we'll learn about where he stands as things go. But football wise, I think you're going to see number 90. Well, number 90 has been sick. There's an illness going around everywhere right now, including the Patriots. So he might not play on Sunday because he missed practice. I think he missed practice and then
Was there today. He was there today.
Limited. So we'll see if he's good to go for Sunday. Stephon Diggs, he's healthy. So I think you're going to see number 90 and number 8 out there on the field for the rest of this season if nothing else changes. And, this will be something we revisit in, February, March, April, whenever more information comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
So one other question I wanted to get into, and I think it's an important question to ask, just kind of shifting away from that and getting back to the football field. Who's a better team for the Patriots to face, do you think? The Bills or the Chargers? And this is what I'll say. If I'm the Bills have a chance at that number 5 spot. Do they not?
Yes. They would need Houston to also lose.
Still.
Or Jacksonville to lose. One of them.
Right. If it's me and I'm the Bills, I would so much rather play whoever wins that AFC North, battle than the Patriots or the Texans, depending on, or whatever, Jaguars or whoever it is, right? Like, I would much rather play that team than be in the 6 or the 7 spot. And so I would be doing everything I can to win that game on Sunday. Now it's the Jets, so maybe you don't need that much to win, but I'd be trying to win if I were them.
Well, I think one key indicator I'm going to be looking for here, Josh Allen really cares about his starts streak. As we saw last year, where he takes the first snap and then bounces. If he is inactive on Sunday, that tells me he is actually dealing with an injury.
Right.
If he's, we know he's hurt, but is he injured? Basically, can he play through it? If he can play through it, then I think he's going to, at the very least, be out there for the first snap, and then maybe they rest him the rest of the day. As to which team I'd rather face, I think quarterback health is a massive factor here. Both teams have injured quarterbacks right now, though. So, you'd be facing guys who might have quarterbacks that are better than Drake Maye, fully healthy.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to be better than Drake Maye in a week and a couple days here. So we'll see. I lean towards the Chargers, wanting to play them simply because their rushing attack isn't as good. So I don't think they can threaten Patriots on there. I think the Patriots can at least stalemate, if not win the battle in the trenches when the Chargers have the ball. And I don't know if you've looked ahead at the weather forecast at all, Pat, but wild card weekend, it's looking awfully rainy, maybe snowy right now. It looks like there might be some storms coming through that whole week.
Yeah.
I'll take the dome quarterback from LA who's banged up in those conditions over Josh Allen, even of an injured Josh Allen. Is this where you land too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is just that situation where, I've seen Josh Allen go God mode. I've seen him go God mode, right? And win. And you're just like, what do you do when that happens, right? And I feel like Justin Herbert is the Mike Trout of the NFL. In the fact that, Mike Trout would be like, the Mike Trout stat line is like, oh, Mike Trout went, 4 for 4 with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs, and the Angels lose 9-7 or whatever. It's just like, he's the best player. He's incredible. What he does is unbelievable. But the people around him constantly let him down. And they don't win the games that they should, even though he's that good sometimes. And, I just feel like he's an unbelievable quarterback. Some of the stuff he does is unreal. but they don't win like Buffalo does. They don't have the experience that Buffalo does, and they don't win like Buffalo does. And so if I'm getting the choice, I'm choosing the Chargers every single time. 10 times out of 10, I'm choosing the Chargers. I also look at it and think the absolute worst thing as a Patriots fan that could happen to the Patriots this year is that you lose in the first round of the playoffs to the Buffalo Bills. That's the worst thing that could happen as a Patriots fan. Now, obviously, outside of injuries and things like that. But, like, imagine if we were to lose in the first round of the playoffs to the Buffalo effing Bills. Like, the Bills fans are already obnoxious. You know what I mean? Like, that's all we hear all offseason.
I just don't like this line of thinking because, like, I'm not the Bills, I feel like, would be so much more afraid of losing to New England.
I agree with you. I agree with you with that. Yes,
and like, I'm not like I'm gonna be an insufferable Patriots fan regardless of if they win or lose. So if they lose, it doesn't bother me. I'll still be this way. But if we win, we get more ammo. So like I think I'll make the case for the Bills side here because I do think it's closer. Like I think it's 60-40 to me between Chargers and Bills. You know, like especially if Josh Allen is actually hurt. That's a big deal because we're talking about a leg injury for him, for someone who relies on his mobility. If it's Josh Allen, but he only has half of his mobility, that is a significantly different quarterback that you're facing.
Sure.
You have already beaten the Bills this season. The time you lost to them was an incredibly close game where you led by 21 points and could not put them away because Allen went Super Saiyan and with a little bit of help from some officiating, which means if you can't go Super Saiyan to that degree or the officiating is a little bit different, you still win that game. Well, that's where you're at with that. That's such a close one. Since that game, the Bills barely beat the Browns by 3 points and lost to an Eagles team that didn't have I felt like they didn't have a completed pass in the second half. Is that what it was?
They did not have a completed pass. By the way, the Eagles, my favorite stat of all time. There's some really good stats, but one of my favorite stats ever is that the Eagles now have played. There have been 5 games this year where a team has not completed a pass in a half. The Eagles have accounted for 3 of those 5 games. They have won all 3 of those games. It is insane to think about. That's why Jalen Hurts will never get the credit that Eagles fans thinks he deserves because he doesn't deserve it. He's not a terrible player, but my God, they don't win because of him.
When it's clear that he has limitations in what he's comfortable with in an offense, and they're stuck in this spot where like he does not like throwing over the middle. He's not as comfortable under center. And if you like their offensive line isn't as good this year. So if you want to activate the guys they have, what you want are the big play action passes from under center, throwing the ball over the middle. Well, he doesn't want to do that. So now you're stuck. He's not a bad player, but like any quarterback, he has I think like basically all of the quarterbacks between like the 8th best and the 22nd best, they're all guys who have a specific skill set. And if you surround them with the right guys and the right coaches to maximize that skill set, I think any of them can win a Super Bowl. The problem is that like how many, if they're that inflexible, how many seasons in a row can you keep that up? It's relatively easy to have the right supporting cast for a guy for one season. It's another thing to actually put it together year over year. And like, I got to look at like this is Matt Ryan. He's a very good quarterback. Mm-hmm. He had the 1 year where they actually had something around him to be a good team. And they blew it in the Super Bowl. And that's that. Like Matt Ryan could have been a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Yeah. But he isn't because they really only got one shot at it.
Right.
And Hurts got a couple shots at it because they built a really good team. They do a very good job there in Philadelphia. And we got one of the 2, and that's awesome. And we'll see. I will say, how good that defense is, they could go back this year because they're going to get a home game against one of the teams from out west. If you win that, and you get a little bit of luck, all it takes is 1 or 2 of those Hurts games in the playoffs where he does play well, and all of a sudden you're back in the Super Bowl.
Yep, it's very true. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. But yeah, anyways, to your point about the Bills, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about the Bills. I do think it would be pretty awesome. Like beating the Bills in the playoffs would be pretty awesome. I'm a guy that I watch games and I get extremely nervous the whole game. I'm Mr. Negative as I'm watching games. Just so much negativity. If you,
I wish you guys could see our text thread.
oh, it's unbelievable. I'm so negative the whole game. It's unbelievable. But in the back of my head, I'm like the most positive guy in the entire on the face of the planet. I'm like, oh, they're only down like 30. They can come back from this. Like, sure. Like, all you need is 4 touchdowns and pick 6 and we're fine. But it's just outwardly, I just never want to. I always feel like if I'm happy about something, that something's going to go wrong. So, anyways, I would be just terrified of that Bills matchup.
I do think this is the difference between Boston sports fans born who got to really experience life as a Boston sports fan before the 2000s.
Very true.
Versus one who was groomed into it, because you are there's always that fear of returning to how things were, and versus me, I'm just like always ready to feel like the slightest hint of success. I'm ready to.
Born in 1984, like just. My whole like early childhood was like the teams would get there and they'd blow it. And obviously it was only 2 when the Buckner thing happened, so I don't remember that. But like, Patriots made the Super Bowl in 85 and got smoked by the Bears. Again, I don't remember that. But the Patriots make the Super Bowl against the Packers. They win that game. They were winning that game.
Yeah.
And then you have the touchdown return for a touchdown by Desmond Howard, and that's that. It's just
yeah, it's tough. You're still muted over there, by the way. You didn't hit the button.
Sorry about that.
I really like. I'd rather play the Chargers. I do think there's a familiarity. Like the Chargers and like Jesse Minter is a very good defensive coach, and the Chargers don't necessarily do anything crazy exotic on defense, but they're very well coached and they scout you well. And if Maye is seeing something that he is effectively never, I mean, we still played the Chargers last year, but it's a different group, especially different supporting cast. It's a playoff game. You're going to get a different level of intensity, I think, in the prep. And Maye might see something he's never seen before and have a tough day because of that. Whereas I think if you play the Bills, all right, he played them a number of times. And like they gave him trouble last time. And I think he has shown how to play around that ever since. I think they found answers to those things since then. And I like my odds of like, all right, especially because the Bills can't defend the run at all. That's all right. If you go back out there and like you're basically guaranteed to have a good offensive day against Buffalo because you're going to be able to run the football, and you have Drake Maye, who has seen what Buffalo does and should have the answers to it with Josh McDaniels and a highly motivated Stephon Diggs going against his former team in a playoff game with a chance to end their season. Like I think everyone gets up for that, and I think. I think the Patriots are favored in that game, so I'm not afraid either way. I think the Patriots win either way.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you, and I'm not necessarily afraid. I just, and it's year 1 as well. And I know people are like, oh, it's not year 1, it's year 6 or whatever. It's year 1. It's year 1 of Vrabel, and Stretch and those guys, and whatever. So, but. Yeah, winning that matchup, oh my God, it'd be real nice. It'd be really nice if they won that matchup. So,
well, and it's like I said, if the Bills end up tanking a little bit here to try to pick a matchup with the Patriots and then lose it, I mean, I personally will make sure they never hear the end of that.
Well, that's definitely for sure,
and that is appealing. That is highly appealing.
I agree with.
Yeah. I do think either way, I like the matchup more than like playing Houston.
Oh God, yeah. I want nothing to do with Houston. Yeah. Not until we have to play them. I just don't. I don't need to play them. I don't want to play Houston. I really would rather not play Houston or Jacksonville. But you're gonna have to play one of those teams, most likely in the second round if you win the first game. So, it is what it is. I mean, you gotta play one of them. You gotta play one of them. It's the way it goes. But. Patriots wise, it's just that's the team that scares you the most because their defense is so good. Their offense is fine, but their defense is so good.
Yeah, when they just have Houston to me is a game where I feel like you would miss Mac Hollins because their corners are so physical that like, all right, now we're gonna have Diggs is gonna probably get covered by Stingley, and then Kamari Lassiter, who's about as physical as it gets. If we're putting him, I think he could do a good job with Keyshawn Boutte. I think he could, if he's ending up on Pop or Kyle Williams, I don't think that goes well for us. Lassiter's played so well. I just don't feel that way about the coverage guys for the Bills or for the coverage guys for the Chargers, who are very good in their own right. It's a very good Chargers defense. Texans are a tier better. I guess the saving grace with Houston is that depending on health situation and whoever comes out of the AFC North, they might have the worst quarterback in the AFC in the playoffs. That's not a slight on Stroud. I think he's a solid player, but I think it basically comes down to whether you prefer Stroud or Nix. And Lawrence is playing at a high level. Herbert's just a better player. Josh Allen's a better player. Lamar, when healthy, is a better player. Drake May is a better player. So, that I think is kind of your saving grace there. Which I don't know. Talk about matchups all we want. I do feel like all of these are close. There's no one matchup that scares me so much where I'm like, man, the Patriots are going to have a really tough time today. And there's nothing where I think the Patriots are blowing someone out. All these teams are good. All these teams have a fatal flaw. Every single one of these teams has a strength that's very good. And I think it's just going to come down to who plays better on that specific Sunday. And I think even more specifically, in games that are close, how well are you coached? How well are you able to find the couple extra plays that you're going to need to win and then able to execute those couple plays?
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see how it goes. Also, maybe some confusion. Mac Hollins will be back for the AFC Championship game. Will not be back before then. Cannot be back before then. Just can't be. Can't be back before then. So, yes, it's only 4 weeks, but even if they get the bye, that's going to be fine. So
it'll be, the bye won't push it back a week, which is good. I think there was some confusion about that when he got put on injured reserve. So it's nice to get clarification on what the rule is there. And Mac Hollins will play again, hopefully for us this year. Would love to get to that AFC Championship game. Do we want to do? There's one non-Patriots related NFL thing I want to talk about if we're done with the preview for this Sunday.
Yeah, go ahead.
What the Falcons winning sets up for the NFC South, one of the funniest possible scenarios. So for those who aren't aware, there's a game between Tampa Bay and Carolina on Saturday. Whoever wins that will have, the best record in the NFC South. But because Atlanta won last week, there's a position here where if Tampa wins, Tampa and Carolina will both be 8-9. Tampa would win that tiebreaker. But if Atlanta wins next week, Atlanta's also 8-9, which makes it a 3-way tiebreaker, not a 2-way. Carolina would be the team that advances out of that. Because of the timing of the games and because the situation's possible, because the Falcons won on Monday Night Football, now you have a situation where if Tampa wins on Saturday afternoon, they don't know if they're in the playoffs or not until after the Saints-Falcons game the next day, which effectively becomes a proxy war for the NFC South, which is a hilarious possibility and something I'm 100% rooting for.
I mean, how awesome would that be? Tampa wins, basically clinches, but doesn't clinch because freaking Atlanta of all teams, beats the Saints and knocks them out of the playoffs. It's just, it's incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
It's such a ridiculous possibility.
Yeah.
And it also means that they can't, it's not a win and in game.
Right. Not for Tampa. For Carolina, it is because Carolina can't get knocked out. But for Tampa, they have to win and they need the Saints to win. So it's just it's awesome, and I am rooting so hard for Tampa on Saturday specifically because of that scenario. It's just so cool. I love it.
Yeah. To wrap quickly, do we want to pick winners for the 3 big games and the 2 Saturday and the Sunday night real quick and then get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Not Saints Falcons, man. Bucks Panthers. Who you got?
I got the Bucks. Come on, it's got to be the Bucks.
So then who do you have in Saints Falcons?
Atlanta. That's the funniest. That's the funniest outcome. That's the best outcome that could possibly be. Tampa wins, then Atlanta wins the next day, and Carolina gets in, even though they lose at 8-9. Just incredible.
That's the outcome I'm rooting for. I do think the
I
Carolina.
think the Panthers. I think the Panthers win. I think ultimately the Panthers win, but it would be so much fun if if Tampa won and then Atlanta won.
Yeah. Saturday night, who you got? 49ers or Seahawks? This one's in San Francisco.
So this is a tough one. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go San Fran, just because San Fran's just done everything. I just feel like that team is tough to beat, man. I like Seattle a lot. Ultimately, I just don't trust Sam Darnold to win a big game like that. I just don't. On the road, he turned to a pumpkin last year in January. He might do the same thing again this year. And, then you're back where you started if you're Seattle,
Yeah, I lean towards San Francisco here too, just because I think they have the better quarterback, and that's going to matter. The only thing I'm very much looking forward to the Seattle defense versus San Francisco offense matchup. That
I agree.
Maybe best defense in the NFC, maybe right now the hottest offense in the NFC going against one another. So intrigued about that. And then Sunday Night Football, and Lamar Jackson looks like he's playing. Can Lamar Jackson possibly send Aaron Rodgers to retirement at home in Pittsburgh?
That would be glorious. I'm rooting. I hate Baltimore, hate Baltimore. I think I hate Aaron Rodgers more. So I feel like I'm rooting for Baltimore because I feel like that would be the most fun outcome. I think either of those teams is getting absolutely mollywopped in the first round of the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm rooting for Aaron Rodgers to lose in the worst way possible, and that would be on Sunday Night Football in front of the entire nation watching that game.
I kind of feel like the Steelers win this. Here's the thing, I don't think the Steelers are good. And the Ravens, I feel like should be a much better team. I guess if I was picking, if you take the names off of the teams and you just look at the stats, I would pick Baltimore 9 times out of 10. But the problem is that for whatever reason, weird things have happened with the Steelers this year, and I just kind of feel like it happens one more time and they get in. Like the Steelers somehow winning a game against a Baltimore team that is clearly better than them to get into the playoffs, only to immediately get kicked to the curb in the wild card round because they're not competitive against the playoff team, feels like that's appropriate for that organization.
That's a fair point. Yeah. So
I think Pittsburgh wins it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We'll see, but I ultimately think that makes sense, and realistically too for for those teams, right? Like Mike Tomlin, I feel like has his guys ready for those games, but not all the games, right? And I almost feel like now listen, this is a Sunday night game. It's in Pittsburgh, but they're the underdogs. That feels like a Mike Tomlin win to me. If they were favored by 3.5 points, that feels like a Mike Tomlin loss for me. Right? So it's one of those funny things. It's like, I just don't know, and DK Metcalf and Deshaun points it out too. DK Metcalf is suspended. So Aaron Rodgers is throwing to, I don't even know, Austin Collie. Who the heck is even his receivers that are out there? So I get it. But 3.5 point underdogs, I feel like that's the game that they win, as opposed to, you know what I mean? Just because that's what Mike Tomlin does. Yep.
I agree. And it's no DK Metcalf too. Got someone asking in the chat, who are they even throwing to? No clue. No clue. My answer here is in no way based off of logic about how the Steelers should play in this game. But
yeah. By the way, my dad pointed out, I believe it was 1980. So I'm going to say it was. I believe it was 1980. The Patriots, what could happen to the Bucs happened to the Patriots in 1980. They won the last game of the season on Sunday afternoon, and then found out, excuse me, that they didn't make the division. They didn't win the division later on when Buffalo played on Monday Night Football. And so I believe that that's correct. If I can go back and see it, maybe that's not right. But either way, Buffalo won the division that year. The Patriots beat them the week before. And then the Bills won the last game of the season. The Patriots had lost. The Patriots won the last week of the season, but so did the Bills, and the Bills made it into the playoffs at 10-5. Patriots played at 1 o'clock. The Bills played at 4:30. And so the Patriots were in the playoffs and then got bounced out of the playoffs by the Bills after that. So there you go. Talk about that.
Wasn't the in 2002, didn't the Patriots beat Miami and they would have been in the playoffs if not for them the Jets winning in the 4 o'clock slot against the Green Bay too? I think that's how that one went.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I still remember the opening to the 2003 championship DVD has that whole sequence in it of what happens at the end of the 2002 season where the Patriots mount that comeback, and then
really?
it cuts to a shot of the Jets fans cheering in the Meadowlands as they're showing the ending of the game in New England.
Oh God!
And they beat the heck out of the Packers. The Packers were not good that year, so that game was not close.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's it's unfortunate when things like that happen. But again, you do it to yourself. This is what happens. You have to win games. You can't say, "Wow, we won our last game. You're 8-9." They've gone 1-6 or whatever down the stretch. So just it is what it is for Tampa. So, anyways, all right, we're getting the heck out of here. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll be with you guys halftime on Sunday Night Football again on Sunday night.
Yeah, I think, or do we? We probably should be. Although I wonder if we even consider a Monday night show instead, because knowing who wins the AFC North might be relevant to our analysis.
We could do that. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with a Monday night show.
Especially if it's a 4:25 game, you might be getting home around halftime of the Sunday night game. So that's gonna be a little tight.
It's a decent point.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we'll do. But we'll tune in. We'll let you know what we're doing. So. Anyways, thanks for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you guys. I hope everyone had a great new year, and be good to each other, and go Pats.